Let's take a look at how a life estate will actually function and operate. Now, I have an example here for you where we have the grantor, who's the creator of the life estate, and they've created a life estate naming a life tenant. Now, the life tenant, remember, would be the grantee. So we have a grantor who creates a life estate for a grantee who's the life tenant. In most life estates, when the life tenant dies, the property reverts right back to the grantor. That is called a reversionary interest. However, you could have situations or times when the property might go to a third party called a remainderman. We also have this person down here called a per attribui, who's also sometimes involved with a life estate. Now let me kind of give you an example on how this might work for you. A lot of times parents may want to give a farm to a child, and so they create a life estate. When the child passes away, they want that farm to come back. Now there may be some instances when they create a life estate for the child who's the life tenant, they own the life estate, but when the child dies, the property is going to go to their sister. That's another example of a life estate. Occasionally, you might have what is called a life estate with a per attribui, which is when it's based on someone else's life. So let's take this example. My wife and I want to create a life estate on a piece of property for one of our daughters. And in this example, we're going to base the life on my life, per attribui. So when I die, the life estate would end and it would revert back to my wife so that she could take the property, resell it. If it's income producing property, she could use the income off of that property to help her survive after I'm gone. That is an example when a per attribui, when the third party's involved or the life of someone else, per attribui. And again, keep in mind, sometimes you have a remainderman, so when the life tenant dies, the property could go to the remainderman, which might be a sister or another brother, and that is how a life estate works. Now keep in mind that the grantee, the owner of the life estate, the life tenant, they can sell the property, they could give the property away, they can take a loan out on it, they can do all kinds of things with the property. But when that life, if it's a per attribui, when that life of that person dies, or when the life tenant dies, regardless if they've sold it or not, that property is either going to revert back to the remainderman or, it's going to revert back to the grantor, or it could move over to a remainderman if someone else was listed as a remainderman in that life estate.